Day 10, Establishing the Line of Authority, Psalm 110. Two phrases stand out from this passage as relates to the coming of Christmas. Verse 1, Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool. Verse 2, The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. If we think of Christmas as the beginning point of God's plan, we make a serious mistake. A mistake that is easily made. It was a mistake that the leaders of Jesus' time made often. They assumed that the arrival of the Messiah was to be the beginning of a new era, a new and better realization of the kingdom as they interpreted the concept. The truth is much grander and more expansive. Jesus was already at the right hand of God long before he was incarnated, long before he went through the process of being born, living, dying, and being raised to life. The defeat of the enemy is a foregone conclusion. The crushing blow was always a reality in God's reality. Jesus' coming just made it real for us. But there was another aspect which is revealed in verse 2. We needed more than just a conqueror, one to free us from our enemies and bondage, one who could rule. We also needed a representative, one to argue our case before God. But even that is not enough. A representative can only present the information and plead the case. We needed more than that. We needed one with authority and ability to impact the outcome, one who was both advocate and judge. In the structure laid out in the Old Testament, there were two key lines of authority. The first was represented by the king. The second was represented by the high priest. The king led the people in carrying out God's plans in the world. The high priest led the people before God in dealing with their spiritual state. Both of these had serious flaws that could impact how effective they were in carrying out God's words and plans. Both of them had to deal with the problems of sin and how it impacted their ability and desire to do what God desired. They both had to deal with the temptation to misuse their authority. But the high priest, had a unique problem, a problem which existed no matter how perfectly they followed the guidelines given to them. They could not provide direct access to God. They could only help the people present their sacrifices, act as a limited go-between, but only for the moment of the sacrifice, which would have to be repeated at least once a year or as needed. Thus, the need for Christmas became critical at another level. It provided a person authorized to stand before God and present the one sacrifice that would satisfy for all time the debt of sin. This high priest was capable of satisfying any question related to the state of a person and their debt of sin. This priest, perfect in the eyes of God, fulfilled all the responsibility of the high priest and had the authority to act. In Jesus, we have that person, the king with the right to rule and the high priest with the right to provide the sacrifice and then judge. What a gift we were given at Christmas, a victorious king and the eternal perfect representative, the one given all authority and power to restore what had been lost.